Hello everyone and welcome all. Today we'll discuss the effect of personalization on customer experience while overlooking the beautiful Tivoli Gardens, one of the oldest amusement parks in the world. We'll do so from the Nimb Hotel, a true landmark in Copenhagen. It's a fairy tale-like hotel located in the Tivoli Gardens. It's a place where the past and the present come together. It tells the story of Danish hospitality and luxury the best. And I'm not doing this alone, of course. I'm having three fantastic and truly exciting guests. Mikkel Kjeldsen is a household name in Denmark when it comes to loyalty and customer research. He's helping companies and organizations to design and implement customer centricity programs that create long-term customer relationships and drive business growth. Mikkel is the CEO of Loyalty Group. We can't come to Copenhagen without spending time with Rasmus Houlind. He's the author of the book Hello First Name and is known for his expertise in personalization. He's helping companies to create more meaningful and relevant customer experiences through his work at Agillic. Kra Vgård makes customer centricity look easy. She's the co-owner of the Michelin-starred restaurant Jante, where she and her team create unforgettable dining experiences for their guests. She's also a passionate advocate for sustainable and ethical practices in the hospitality industry. And with these three guests, we're going to discover the Danish concept of hygge and how it translates into creating warm, welcoming, and personalized customer experiences. Welcome to Table 7. Maybe we shouldn't be telling that.
I am on leash.
Oh, it's just a really boring person.
He's the man with the problems, actually.
Let's start with phones, then clothes.
All right, so what a table do we have here? These are three wonderful guests. I'm so happy that I was able to get you three together, get the four of us together on around one table. That's actually quite something. So welcome Tina, welcome Rasmus, welcome Mikkel.
Thank you.
So glad that you are actually here. And what a place do we have here, right? You probably have been here
many
before.
times.
Yeah?
Yeah, a few times, yes.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place. It's especially this time of year, it's magical.
Yeah. I was here for a wedding last, and it's absolutely magnificent.
Yeah. Had a concert at the rooftop bar last summer.
Wow.
Pretty nice as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go.
I think there's a reason for people and tourists coming to Tivoli, and I think it's totally worth it. So it's one of those cliches that's there for a reason, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I haven't visited yet, I have to admit. So it's high on my to-do list. So I will be coming
It's a big
here.
mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, not going.
A bit like not visiting us, in our restaurant. But yes.
Okay.
Maybe we can combine it next time.
All right, I will. Do I have to bring Rasmus and Mikkel as well, or?
Of course you do.
Probably be better.
All right.
There's a lot of dust on the table with your names on. I can tell you that.
Oh, fantastic. So, Rasmus, you've written a book called Hello First Name. The title alone piques interest, to be honest. When I first saw it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. What is it about?
So it's about personalization, a personalized communication, personalized marketing, personalized customer experience. The title refers to probably the most common use of personalization. So you're actually using people's first name in the salutation, and doing that at scale is quite often sort of referred to. That's what the reference is to. I think we've all tried getting that email where there was an error in the syntax and it actually said hello first name, which makes it kind of fun, especially for marketers who have themselves tried sending one of those emails and then it's like, oh God, did we do that? So that's the irony of the title. So it's essentially it's about personalization. How do we make people feel special by using personalized communications and service to give them a better experience?
Yeah, and following up on that, why is personalization that important? Why does it matter to?
Yeah, so there's a report from McKinsey stating that 78% of consumers state that they'll be more inclined to buy from a company that is giving them a personalized customer experience. And actually the same goes for word of mouth. 78% of people say that they are more inclined to talk positively and to talk about a customer experience they've had where the company was using personalization. So it's kind of at the core of a good customer experience and also at the core of customer loyalty. Not saying that it's the only way that you can do that, but and bear in mind that this is when people are actually asked. So it's I mean it's not only about giving them like a more frictionless experience where they feel this was easy, but it's making them actively aware that this was an experience that was out of the ordinary and where they feel heard and listened and valued and appreciated. And you make them feel special by treating them in a personalized way. So that's why it's important, I think.
Yeah. Makes total sense. Make absolute sense.
I think, from my point of view, I would very often use one word to try and guide in terms of relevance. I mean, you need to be relevant. If it's a one-size-fits-nobody experience, then that's definitely not of interest. I mean, that will not create any kind of emotional ties to the brand or to the delivery. And especially the frictionless, the effortless experience. I mean, we are honored today with Tina. I think she represents a company that is definitely going in the opposite way. It's not easy. It's not frictionless. It's in many ways.
Yeah, you're going above and beyond in terms of relevance.
Yeah. So I mean, Tina can talk about that herself. But I mean, even here at a 5-star luxury hotel, again, you don't sleep that much better in a bed of a 5-star luxury hotel, but you pay a lot of money for staying here. So it's all the things around that that is giving that extra experience. So relevance for me at least is quite unique.
I fully understand what you're saying. It reminds me of an example I always used to give when going to the opera, for instance, is also something that is, well, there is a lot of effort involved. Because you don't have to, but we like to dress up then, and we make it a special evening, and it's going out, right? And especially if it's a German opera, then it can take some effort to do as well.
You might need to sneak peek a bit on the script as well. I mean, I'm not catching every single word they sing, at least not if.
So yeah, high effort. I fully get that, but it makes it rewarding as well. I think it's not just about that; it's about the entire package. I think,
and respecting people's time. You know, as you say, that's the most important part. You know, they take the time to visit you. To stand out as not just one of the many. It is important to really make people feel special, because why should they come and visit us again? Maybe they come once then, but then they don't come back. And the best.
Then it's more important that they talk about it, because then others will come.
Yeah, but the best guests, they always come back. And we only have, you get addicted to what we give them, and yes, probably you can put it into a lot of different boxes, and but it is about you have a guest, and what's the unique part about that guest? Of course, you need to do, before the guest arrives to your place, you need to look into what person is this. Because if you have a local local guest visiting you, and you start asking them about, okay, what hotel are you staying at, or what are you going to visit in Copenhagen, then they already feel not so important than if you actually know that they're just from around the corner, or they're flying into Copenhagen. And I would say like 99% of people flying into Copenhagen is there to dine. So then you start talking about that. So try to personalize the experience for the person. And then after doing that... So
that's a brief that you do like before the evening starts?
In the beginning when we opened, we did so much, like it was almost like they called me the restaurant version of the PET, like the police investigation team. But I think that's also a bit too much. It's very important that you know the first name as well. You know, when you need to order a taxi in the end of the dinner, it's very important that the taxi driver comes to the entrance and say, is this Mr. Jensen instead of is this table 10? You know, so of course it's very important. So it's very important to do your research before the guests come, but it can also become too much because you also need to then look at the human that is coming to your restaurant, you know. Now, I know I'm talking about restaurants, you're talking about...
that's fine. Yeah, it's a great analogy.
General. But they can also be in a special mood, you know. Are they happy? Are they sad? How do you talk to the person, you know? Do you talk in a bit young way, or can they actually take a joke, or how is it? And then you need to treat everyone with respect, you know. You don't want this feeling about going into a branded store and then the one who should help you actually look at you and say, okay, can you afford to go here? No, you don't want to give your guest that feeling. So no matter if it's a trainee who has been saving for 3 years to come to a restaurant, or if it is a guest who go out and dine, you know, 3 times a week, you should treat everyone with respect. And everyone is a VIP guest, and everyone should have the same experience and the same small extra glass of something if you choose to do that. Yeah. Of course, then if my parents come to the restaurant, they have been there 2 times in 8 years, so it's not often. But if they come, maybe I will talk a bit extra to them that night. But still.
So everybody should feel like the main character.
Exactly. That they are, you know, the princess or prince of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you if there is still a lot of passion. I'm not going to ask you that. I actually wanted to ask you what is the secret behind creating a memorable experience? Is there a secret behind that?
Again, it's about creating this.
I love that we're sharing secrets.
Yeah.
Oh, we do.
No, but it's not. I would say it's not so secret. You know, it's just
top tricks.
Yeah, but I know, of course, again, you can put everything into boxes, but it is just about giving the best of you and giving it to your guests, you know, because they took the time to come to your restaurant. They took the time, as you said before, to shower before they go to the opera or something like that. So you don't want to waste their time, you know. You want to give them 100%. You want to give them everything, you know. So I don't think it's so tough, you know. It's not so...
Yeah, but that's because you master the craft.
Yeah, but it's also
well.
about this... You know, I haven't been there myself, but my husband told me about he went to Tokyo not long ago for the first time. He went to Japan, even though his food is super much inspired by Japan. And then he said, you know, it's so amazing in Tokyo that everyone is so, you know, they want to do their best. You know, they want to give, if you go to a 7-Eleven, they want to be the best 7-Eleven, and they want to give the guests that go in or the customer that go in and buy something in 7-Eleven, they want to give them the best experience in the whole world. I don't think it's so European, to be honest. Sometimes everyone wants to be the one that is being served and not necessarily being the servant. But I think it's very important that we are still someone, who wants to...
It's about putting in an effort, no matter what you do.
Exactly.
So anything worth doing is worth doing with
intent.
Not doing 100%.
Passion.
Yeah.
There is a number of interesting concepts out of Japan. I work a lot with the automotive industry, and in that industry, Toyota and their luxury brand Lexus is quite unique, and of course Japanese. So from that, they take a number of interesting concepts. Omotenashi is one, and that is definitely to try and treat your customers as guests. I mean, truly take care of them. The Kaizen is perhaps one of the more well-known, and the idea of always looking for doing better, especially actually with the customer in mind. So this cultural focus on trying to do better all the time and actually being passionate about it I haven't visited Japan. I know a number of people that have been studying there quite heavily when it comes to customer experience and those things. And one of them told me about a simple experience on putting gasoline on your car. So basically, they came driving at the car. They went to this gasoline station. As soon as they pull up, there are a number of people coming there to take care of you. So good old fashioned, even what you saw in the US back in the days. So people are washing the windscreen, fueling the tank, and all of that. But actually also because the traffic is quite heavy in most of the cities there. So when you leave the gasoline station, there would actually be a person going out and stop the traffic, so you can go into the road. So the amount of taking care of. Another example was a guy standing at a railway station about to take the train, and he went to one of the people, the employees at that, and asked for, how do I get from here to there and stuff. And he was like, yeah, just a second, went somewhere to tell somebody, and then he actually took the train ride with him to show him the right way.
Wow.
So I'm not sure that's what's happening all the time.
The high velocity train.
No,
but it's still, it shows that.
But it takes about it takes a completely different types of culture. It's so ingrained in the way that they will serve people, and I think that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah,
I think we could learn in general a bit of that from that.
Yeah. Mikkel, you've been helping clients to create customer centricity programs for many years now. How has the concept of personalization changed over time?
I think it is interesting because yes, I have been around for some time now. So I would put in, let's say, 3 major chapters. So if I go back to the 1990s till about 2010, in that time, there was actually a lot of individual communication. At that time, you were talking about direct marketing. You were talking about, utilizing unique information per customer and taking care of that. You also did a lot of insights research. So quite heavy customer satisfaction surveys and stuff like that. In the early zeros, 2003, the famous NPS came out, and that started also, and that started to change things. So in the beginning, it was like officially we need to treat customers well. We have a lot of insights, and we want to make individual communication. And then around 2010, at least almost 10 years going forward, as I see it, you saw automation. In the beginning, it was print. You actually printed a lot of physical letters.
We have a lot of clients who still do that.
Oh yeah.
Personalized direct mails. Yeah. Still a big thing, and it's coming back. It's
actually coming back because, we can cover that afterwards because that's...
Maybe because there's more effort in it.
Exactly. It's you're proving that you're spending time and money on communicating, and that's actually paying attention. So the point was, first we had a lot of research, individual communication, and an overall, but not very structured or processed idea of let's take good care of customers. And then the NPS came, so surveys suddenly needed only to be, 2-3 questions, basically only indicating something. Everything went digital, so suddenly we were talking about emails and marketing, and in the US you talked about spray and pray. The idea of sending out an email was suddenly so cheap, so you could just, send out whatever you wanted. And for that reason, spam was invented. So now suddenly you were spammed with communication. And so in that period of time, new weapons were utilized by the marketing community, and definitely not for the good, I think. So you were overusing a lot of things because it was cheap and a new way of doing things. And now I think I've seen since, let's just say 2020 and onwards, you again see going back to basic. So you see more of relevant information, you collect the relevant type of information. You now also, at least here in Europe, need to have the GDPR, so you need to have acceptance and allowance to use that kind of data, but you need to build the right kind of insight so you can communicate, but not only in marketing, but also in customer service. You need to have the right information available in your systems, I mean your CRM system or something, but also sales. So I think we have seen this digital revolution that, at least to some degree, didn't go as planned. And now we are turning a bit back to utilizing that in the right way, but also bringing back some of the qualities from the, let's call it, old days.
Right. So it's, would it be right to, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but one word that keeps coming back is intent. It's like that things happen with a purpose, that you do it with intention, that it was designed that way, or you had reflected upon it beforehand. Just like you, when you do research on guests who are coming, that is intentional. There is something you want to know about them that you can actually...
but you also want a relationship with them before
Exactly.
they arrive to the restaurant. You want to communicate before they arrive. And I do understand it's different with a small restaurant with 30 guests and with big brands.
But the mechanism is the same, I think. And we just talked about you saying that it's important for giving the customer a good experience so they will come back, definitely. But I mean, the biggest financial value of treating that guest well is not just to have them come back. I mean, because they can only come as so many times. But if they actually go back home and tell everybody they know that they need to come and dine at your restaurant, then suddenly, I mean, you're going to be too busy. So in that respect, recommendation is definitely an important part of this. So I mean, repurchase is one thing, and recommendation is another one. And for different types of industries, different goals are definitely most relevant.
Yeah.
Circling back to intent, I think if you can figure out the customer's intent, then you stand a much better chance of trying to get them what they want. And that's very fine if you're working on the website or in the restaurant, or if you actually already have the customer's attention. And then there's a lot of like bodily signals, and because the reason that you have their attention is because they have an intent. There's something that they want. And quite often when you're working with personalized marketing, the customer doesn't necessarily have an intent. So you're communicating to them because now it's soon, I mean, it's approaching Easter, or it's soon the summer holiday, or it's Christmas or whatever. So there's not necessarily something going on at the customer that you need to sort of tap into. If you can figure that out and combine that with, okay, so now we want to do like a Black Friday campaign, of course, that's nice. But quite often, and for the majority of the customer database, you'll be looking into doing an outbound campaign where you realize already that you'll probably be not relevant for everybody. But there's still an idea within marketing about being top of mind and being there and being present, being in the inbox and having the aided and unaided awareness in the customer's mind, so that when they choose to go in the market, they will be considering your brand. That doesn't necessarily have to be like a personalized customer experience, but if you can sort of ingest some kind of stuff about the some insights as to who the customer is, or what they, I mean, which kind of demographic profile they are resembling, or which persona, if you're working with that content, they're resembling, or is this a high value, low value, high potential, low potential, using RFM segmentation. That can also add to the perception of relevance to some degree. So I would say intent, yes, sometimes if there is intent, but sometimes personalized communication is about creating that intent. So I may not be wanting to sort of reconsider my subscription, but yet still the Financial Times will be sending me these emails telling me how much I'm using it and what potential value I could be getting from it, so that when the sort of renewal time comes in, there'll be no doubt in my mind. So they're trying to create that intent ahead of time with me.
Yeah, it's also about creating opportunities, right? So that opportunities for yourself to position yourself?
They say that normally only 5% of people are actually in the market for your product at any given time. So does that mean that you should only communicate when they are there? No, of course not. I mean, there's also a case for doing like big branded advertising campaigns. There's a reason that we do that. Because if no one knows about you, they don't come to you and they don't leave any trace as to what their intent could be, and then you don't stand a chance of doing that real deep personalization.
Interesting enough, because when we talk about marketing, part of what you just said, Rasmus, is driving somebody who is perhaps not actually paying attention at the time when you approach them to take an interest into a product or service or whatever. Whereas what you're looking at is, of course, one thing is to bring people to the restaurant. But another thing is to actually treat them when they are guests. This has been one of the paradox that I've seen over the years. I've met with a lot of CMOs that very proudly talked about, we have made the customer journeys, we have designed the customer journey. And when I asked them, okay, so who have you done this with? They said, with our marketing agency. Okay, fine. Could you please show me that customer journey? And that journey is very clear from prompting the customer at the first time until they actually buy. And always I ask for, okay, so what about the rest of that journey? I mean, when the customer actually becomes a customer, and you need to treat them well and make them buy more and actually also take good care of them when they exit. And that's like, no, that's out of scope. That's not of interest. So unfortunately, I see a lot of marketing, both buyers and suppliers, that are only interested in bringing customers in for the kill. Whereas, as I would say that I can sell everything to anybody. It's just a matter of lies. I mean, if I tell you enough, you will buy from me once. The interesting part is for people to come back and buy again, or at least to recommend somebody else to do it. So the point here is how do we make sure that we align expectations in such a way as when we have lured the people in, we will actually take good care of them and they will feel relevance, passion, all the things that we've been talking about, for them to come back and buy again, or for them to recommend somebody else.
Yeah, at least in a restaurant, I know it's like in the small spectrum, but it's about that we do as much research, we do as much follow-up on the guests were there, they were drinking this, they told us that they were going to visit this and this restaurant after, so we put it into the note, so next time they come and visit us, we can make sure to then ask them about, how was it then? When you visit the other restaurant.
I think it's essentially because that's not marketing. And I think somehow the term marketing is misused, or at least I think it's overly used. Because, I mean, supposing that you have a market out there and then you are marketing your product, that's very fine. But once that person from within the market chooses to do some business with you, then they become a customer. They're not the market anymore, they're the customer. So maybe customering, marketing goes into customering, and that's what we do once someone becomes a customer, or at least.
No, but just about when they come back to the restaurant, then we remember to say welcome back.
Exactly, and that's the customering part. Yeah. And I was speaking at a conference in Australia where Aaron Spinley was presenting his thoughts around the customering method, where he said maybe it's because where we're taking over and where we really can work with personalization and the personalized customer experience. That's where marketing is actually done. That's where we're working with customering, where we are, we're not sending personalized emails to get more customers. We are we're mitigating risk, and we're maximizing profit by working on the company's most valued asset, namely the customer database. And the way that you do that is very much through using personalized communication, where you're figuring out the intent and the insights that you have on the customer, and you're matching up with the treatment that you're giving them, whether it's word of mouth, or it's there in the personal service, or it's the communication that you send to them or that you give them, or it's just part of that natural conversation. Maybe it's more customering than it's marketing, really.
And it should always also be in line with what the expectations that you set at the beginning, right? So it's
or above, or above even.
Because let's say that, for instance, we position Tina's restaurant as being a 25-star Michelin, or
you probably go above people's expectations.
They normally say that now you need to invent a 4-star.
Yeah, exactly. So but you also need to deliver on that.
Yes, of course.
What if the promise is not fulfilled and people are actually basically disappointed?
No, but that's also why we need to make an effort every
Exactly,
time. We cannot just like have.
That's when the marketing continues into actual operations.
Yeah.
The
This
dish
is
on
where
the
we
table.
are running the marathon and not just a sprint.
But here's an interesting thought. Without mentioning any kind of brands, some time back I was invited for the first time to dine at a very famous Copenhagen restaurant, I mean they have been ranked as the world's best at least once.
I still no telling which restaurant.
Listeners can guess now. But the point here was, okay, so the CEO of that restaurant afterwards came to me and said, so how was your experience? And I said to him, well, it was truly an experience. And he looked at me and said, yeah, but I mean, that sounded like it could be both good and bad. I said, it actually was. I mean, it wasn't just good because you have made a number of decisions for me. So I basically need to tap into your agenda, to your setting. So there was, for example, at that time only organic wine on the menu card. Unfortunately, that's not my style. So I needed to go with something in this special moment that was less than what I was looking for. There was also a couple of dishes served that was, well, let's just call it an experience.
Challenging.
I wasn't actually eating it. So the point here again, there was something there that actually did not suit me. But that wasn't the case here. The case was that they set a standard, they set a process, and I basically just needed to follow
Or else they maybe try to tell you something or try to learn you something.
Sure.
Because I think it's a bit like when you do like a big runway show for fashion brands and you put them into plastic bags, then you have them to run down. It's not for people to go out and buy a plastic bag. It's like they want to push because going to our restaurant is like they come there to have an amazing dining experience and service experience. But I think it's also okay sometimes to go to places where you are searching for the art experience or you are searching for, they want to find a way of looking at food in a different way than just like.
But maybe they didn't manage to set Mikkel's expectations then.
No, exactly. And maybe before you arrived at the restaurant, they should have maybe in some way have communicated that this is not like a dining experience. This is like something else, You can choose some other of the restaurants here in the city that actually very clearly has a 40-something course serving with all kinds of things. I mean, that's definitely an experience. I mean, you go there for an experience and there will be all kinds of stuff thrown at you that you should try and eat.
Like
and that's just, that's part of it. So my expectations then set, I will not have all 43 or whatever courses. Some of them I don't like or I can't eat all of that or whatever. So that's okay. But if that's not the expectations set, then I would expect something else. If I go to a French restaurant or a French-inspired restaurant or a Japanese-inspired restaurant or something, okay, then I would expect something that resembles France or Japan or something. So I just think aligning expectations is very important. So making sure that even the best, I mean, you can be disappointed at even the best supplier if they have put your expectations where they shouldn't be. I mean, we work with a very large Danish international company, and when we met them first time, they talked about we deliver a superior customer experience. And when I heard that, I said, like, okay, is that something that you talk about internally in the organization? This superior customer experience? No. We tell our customers also that we deliver superior customer experience. And I said to them, sorry guys, I mean, you're shooting yourself in the foot with something like this, because you're definitely not doing that right now. Nobody is. And even if you try really, really, really hard, you will never gain that level. So you can never exceed expectations to a customer who expects superior customer experience with you. So, again, under promise, over deliver in different kind of way. I think that's an important lesson also.
Yeah. But that's also, when you come to our place, you come like a bit outside Copenhagen to like a small, humble 3-star hotel, and then you like walk into Narnia, and of course if you spent like 100 million to build a place, and put up expectations high.
But you aim to exceed the expectations, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think you succeed in that. I mean, so it's managing expectations,
Yeah,
but still,
booked.
this is going to be great, and then
Yeah.
delivering extra on top.
Yeah.
That's the full-on.
The
ambition.
Ritz-Carlton, one of the classic cases for hotels is the Ritz-Carlton cases, where they actually are so perfect in their execution that they build in flaws, because they know that if a guest experiences something that is going wrong, and then they demonstrate how professionally they solve these kind of things, that would actually increase loyalty even more.
It does. There's the element of serendipity. I mean, we can get too complacent as consumers with a good customer experience. You can get used to 5-star hotels. So if there's nothing like that, then you might not notice. Then it's just not having friction.
But Tina, listen, I mean, I think you have just nailed it. As you said, in the outskirts of Copenhagen, a small restaurant, but you do 3 stars. And there's other companies.
We can always do better, Like my husband says, it's only the dead salmon that floats with the stream.
But here, my point is
Swim up
still,
the stream.
you have managed to do whatever the Michelin guide is asking for to grant you 3 stars, whereas other restaurants have been struggling or fighting their way to perhaps a 2-star or perhaps even a 3-star, but at a completely different investment. So you can actually do what you do in a completely different setting from investing, say, 100 million Danish kroners in building a new restaurant or something like that. And I think that's very impressive.
But
Can
this
I
is
ask something? So, because like in marketing and in, I should say, customering or CRM, we're always talking about how to scale the personalized customer experience. And actually, I'd like to ask you that, Tina. How are you scaling this? How are you keeping up? How are you making sure that this is an experience that you can deliver consistently for almost every single guest that you have? What are your tricks to scaling it? Because I know the tricks of scaling it in the digital world. It's like Gen AI and predictive analytics and stuff like that.
But it is tough, of course, because if it was all about only money and doing more covers and then we could just upscale. But I think it's also hard to upscale, to be honest, because it is so personalized. So yes.
So it's training, it's process.
It's training. Yeah, of course it is, and it's doing the same over and over and over and over and over again, and yeah.
Kaizen.
Yeah. And just to make sure that tomorrow you need to be better than yesterday. Yeah. Because otherwise you're just dying.
Tina, tell me, if I were to apply for a front restaurant position, I mean to be in the restaurant with you, so how would the recruitment process work? The onboarding process?
I think we get like around 10 applications every day, and maybe I would say maybe 30% of them I write back to them that we don't have a position, but if you want to come and be with us a few days, you're more than welcome. And then, as we always say, we hire personalities and not CVs. And you can fast read on a CV if there have been like 40 different places in like 8 years, then maybe it's not something for us, because we want consistency over time. So we want people that, live our dream together with us and not just there and then they disappear again. But it's not necessarily that they have been like a long CV, but you need to go into our restaurant and then we need to meet you and we need to see how you act with the guests. And it doesn't necessarily need to be years and years of experience, but it's something with human relationship.
And how do you onboard me? Now you have hired me. Yeah. My first day. Yes. How will my first day or week go then? I mean, do I follow? Do I stand in the corner?
No,
I know that other restaurants, there's somebody saying, you need to stand in the corner and wait for the first 2 weeks before you can actually...
No, we don't do that. We always say that it's so much better to do mistakes than to do nothing. And it's okay to do mistakes. Of course, it's not like we are pushing a person with no experience in a restaurant to serve a wine on a table. It's not that. But, it's... we take them by the hand and then we we go through the processes again and again and again. And of course, even though you have been a 3-star sommelier, you need to start from the scratch, because both in the kitchen and front of house, we all start at the same level, and then we need to perform. And then after we can talk positions and everything. Yeah.
I like that learning by doing approach, and also starting from through the ranks. I really like that. And what also strikes me is that you have this. You have a pretty good idea about what you want, but you still leave room for people who think differently. There is some wiggle room.
No,
it's not like this is it and this is the only thing I want.
And maybe you could learn something as well yourself. You never know. People they have life experiences that they can bring to you. Even though you think you have it all, you can always become better and always learn.
Yeah, this brings me to culture, because Danish culture is I'm talking as an outsider, right? I'm not Danish, but I'm starting to slowly understand how different Danish culture sometimes can be.
You mean diverse or different?
Like Jante law, for
yeah,
instance,
you were talking about the Jante law, right?
something.
Yeah.
I was oblivious. I didn't even think about it. And then I reflected on, but now I understand the things that happened to me in the past while being in Denmark. Now these things make sense. It was like, for me, maybe we should explain a little bit what Jante law is. Does somebody have a good definition of that?
Well, so it's the... I think it's fairly deeply rooted in our society that you shouldn't believe that you are something special.
Yeah.
That's sort of the core of it. Don't believe yourself that you are.
It's actually born just next to where I'm born. The Jante law.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Mors.
Being humble.
Yeah, on the countryside. Yeah.
I think it has good consequences and bad consequences, because I think it's good that you are not seeing yourself above others and that you are paying the respect that you also spoke of, Tina. But it can also sort of put a lid to your ambitions, which is really where it keeps a lot of Danish people from making the big bets, because they don't want to, stand out too much and get those big, hairy, audacious goals, because people just look at them in the wrong way or believe that they are.
That was very different when we went to Switzerland to work for 3 months, where you were actually allowed to say, okay, I'm good at this. You know, I'm actually very good at this, and you're not really allowed to do that in Denmark in the same way.
No. And I think that's also hurtful in some way, but maybe people are less arrogant. I don't know. You be the judge for that.
I cannot put my finger on it. I've been in a fortunate position to work with Danes for quite some time now, and it's that, the humbleness certainly plays a role, and yet still there is a lot of ambition going on as well. And I can say that to the public as well. We talked before, right? We know each other for a while, but there is always that ambition and that passion that goes underneath it, but you will not express that yourself. It's somebody else who will say that about you.
Understatement. I mean, I think a lot of Danes, cultural-wise, are understated. So the idea of I shouldn't be telling the world that I'm great. Somebody else should tell the world that I am great. Because it's too much. It's too self-promotional. If you're the one saying it. So I mean, at least for my part...
Pineapple in its own juice is an expression we use.
I mean, going to the US, I think that's the most opposite experience. I mean, the idea of me and, trying to position myself the best possible. I mean, even if I need to exaggerate a bit. So, I mean, that kind of thing there is going completely contrary to what most Danes would do in this. So, I mean, I've seen extremely successful Danish people, sit at the table and say, "Yeah, well, I'm done pretty well. I'm okay."
Understatement of the
That's
of the
understated.
century, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I also think there's a number of other things cultural-wise in Denmark. Sarcasm is something that is at least sometimes unique for Denmark. So you can be sarcastic, humorous and sarcastic, and other cultures they just don't get it. So
it's just super offending.
Yeah, they're like, what are you talking about? Why? And for that reason, of course, you need to align yourself when you meet with other cultures around. So humor, sarcasm.
Law of Jante, yeah.
Yeah, law of Jante, definitely, yes.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things that are influencing customer experience here in Denmark as well, obviously. I think we could go on this topic in itself for hours. But what I would like to do is what happens when all the things that we've been discussing here, what happens when you apply them to a workforce that thinks and communicates differently. That's why we went to Specialisterne. I hope that I say that right.
Yeah, you do.
And a company that is challenging conventional forms of employment. And let's take a look at what happened there. One of the questions I've been asking myself is, what does it mean to think differently? I mean, we've all heard of autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and by now we start to understand how different each of our brains can be. But in a world designed for the majority, those with unique minds often find themselves on the outside looking in. But what happens when these differences aren't truly embraced by an employer? What if they are seen as pure simple variations in human wiring? I'm heading to a Danish social innovator company called Specialisterne, who are using the characteristics of neurodivergent people as competitive advantages. They have their HQ here in Copenhagen, and I'm going to meet their CEO, Karsten Lassen, to have a chat about what they do. Neurodiversity is all around us, though we don't always recognize it. According to Karsten, it comes in many forms and shapes. The key insight is recognizing that we're all different, even those considered neurotypical are simply part of a majority, not a standard that everyone should meet.
I think it's like a prism. So if you're very much into ADHD, then you think that ADHD is neurodiversity. If you're very much into autism, then you think that autism is neurodiversity. But the thing is, it comes in so many forms and shapes. And that the key takeaway is that you need to recognize that we're all different. Even the neurotypicals, which is basically only means the majority, we're all different. So if you recognize that, then you have come a long way. But yes, there is still this aura of uncertainty around neurodiversity, and we need to do away with that because. There's no right and wrong here. It's just a matter of recognizing that we are different. Pattern recognition is a neurodivergent feature, and we're screening for it. And I mean, believe they are so much better at pattern recognition. A lot of them are, to the degree that it's unexplainable, and it's fascinating.
One of the most fascinating aspects of neurodiversity is how it can manifest as extraordinary abilities. Specialisterne has found that many neurodivergent individuals excel at pattern recognition, spotting subtle connections and anomalies that others might miss. What might take me minutes to identify someone with certain neurodivergent traits could spot in seconds.
Definitely, very much so. I mean, I normally say it's the nerds who shall save the world, but they can't do it on their own, right? I mean, when I was a kid, a nerd was not a positive word. But today, I mean, if you have to be really brainy, if you have to concentrate for more than 45 seconds, then you would have to be a nerd. So I would say without the nerds, we're doomed.
What Karsten is suggesting is profound, that throughout history, many of our greatest innovations likely came from minds that worked differently. From Einstein to Mozart, from Alan Turing to modern tech pioneers. Their unique perspectives allowed them to see solutions others couldn't. But creating environments where these talents can flourish today requires rethinking how workplaces function. I asked Karsten what it takes to create a truly neurodiverse-friendly work environment. One size fits nobody. A very simple concept, yet it challenges decades of management theory. At Specialisterne, this philosophy translates into workspaces designed around individual needs. Some need quiet areas for focus, others thrive with background noise. Some prefer dim lighting, while others need brightness. The key is customization.
Well, in order to create a neurodiverse friendly work environment, you need basically to focus on each individual and start recognizing that the world is neurodiverse, meaning that we are all different. So in order to give everybody the same working conditions, you should treat them differently.
But how does this philosophy translate to actual business results? Is this a feel-good initiative or does it create real value? Specialisterne has found some fascinating applications in the tech sector, particularly in software testing and now in security.
Software testing is a discipline of its own, and most full-stack developers think that testing is very boring. It's a waste of time. But then again, we realize that it's really, really important to have it done because the customer would not expect any errors. So this division of labor, for one thing, is a good thing. And our experience also is that if the task is properly scoped, then the neurodivergent talent would find errors that the neurotypicals would not find, and they would find them faster.
Now, what's fascinating here is how Specialisterne is strategically matching neurological strengths to specific business challenges. In security or quality assurance, the ability to spot patterns and anomalies isn't just helpful, it's essential. And this is just the beginning, according to Carsten.
We are gradually moving into cybersecurity, where you have basically cybersecurity is about seeing patterns, understanding patterns, and being good at seeing deviations in patterns. So I would say software testing was probably what got us in the air. But since software testing is getting more and more automated today, I foresee that cybersecurity will be the next big thing for working with autistic talent.
But getting these placements right doesn't happen by accident. It requires a completely different approach to bringing people into the workplace. From my conversations with Carsten, I learned that onboarding and communication are critical to success.
Well, first of all, you should get rid of your traditional onboarding methods. So hopefully, good for you. You know that this colleague of yours is neurodivergent, because that is the first key to succeeding. Because the problem is, in many cases, the hiring manager does not know that he or she is onboarding a neurodivergent colleague. So you need to be aware of, as I said before, how do I keep you in your comfort zone for as long as possible? What is your preferred communication style? Do you prefer oral communication? Do you prefer to get your a written warning a day or two in advance, or should we do it online with the screen on or off? Basically, there are so many ways to communicate, and they are all fine. You just need to find out what works best for this individual.
What strikes me about these accommodations is how simply many of them are. We are not talking about complete workplace overhauls or expensive specialized equipment. Often it's just about clear communication, predictable schedules, or a quieter work environment. But there's another challenge that many neurodivergent individuals face, and one that goes beyond the work itself. It's a question of disclosure. When and how do you tell your colleagues that your brain works differently?
Well, if people ask me, and I get that question a lot, should I self-disclose? I would say yes, but you should rehearse, you should prepare.
Yeah.
Because basically an important thing is to know yourself well enough to be able to present it, both the challenge and the solution.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you say I am slightly autistic. That means that I am probably more sensitive to smell or noise than you are. It's not a problem. Just don't give me a desk next to the cantina, or it could be other things.
Yeah.
Because most things can be accommodated for.
Yeah.
You just need to know.
After exploring Specialisterne's approach to neurodiversity, I'm left with a profound question. What if we've been thinking about workplace diversity all wrong? What if the very traits we've often marginalized are actually untapped sources of innovation and excellence? Companies like Specialisterne aren't just about creating jobs for neurodivergent individuals, though that alone would be valuable. They're demonstrating that embracing neurological differences can be a competitive advantage. They're showing that when we design workplaces for human variation rather than standardization, everyone benefits. In a world of increasing complexity, perhaps our greatest resource is the natural diversity of human minds, each offering a unique lens through which we view the world and our challenges. And in that diversity may lie our greatest strength as well.
We saw the documentary about Specialisterne, and for me, that is about how a tapestry of all kinds of preferences and preferences makes it sometimes very difficult to really make it fit for a person. And it made me realize how difficult it can be to actually personalize something. And I think that I speak for everybody here around the table. So Rasmus, maybe this is a good question for you. What are the biggest challenges that businesses face when they're trying to personalize experiences?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a question to which there are many answers. And I'd like to start with, well, first of all, there's the like misconception of the word. So there are many different uses of the word personalization, and they're all correct. And really what brought me and my co-authors to write the book was to try to make sort of a practitioner's model that could encompass and make it easy for practitioners to look upon the different ways of working with personalization and distinguish them from each other and serve them some focus point for how they would do this. So, I mean, if you cannot agree on what something is, then probably you're not going to work together on making it come true. So that was the first one. Then obviously there are data issues. So if your customer data is not in order and it's one big pile of mess, then it's and you're not going to do anything at scale with personalization. So that's another thing. Then there's also the whole idea of, I mean, are you ready for personalization at all? Is the juice going to be worth the squeeze where you are now as a company? Have you created a brand that is sufficiently high in demand, that is known, and so on? Are you generating traffic? Do you have enough volume so that it'll actually be worth it to do the personalization? And then content is the new thing. So if you're wanting to give people a personalized customer experience, you want to have that experience ready. And since you won't, in a digital scaled scenario, you won't be meeting everybody face to face, and you can have that nuanced conversation face to face, you'll be looking to produce the content that matches those insights that you do have. And this is where the whole idea of generative AI is coming in to give us a hand here, which is a kind of an irony, if you ask me, because generative AI is allowing us to become perceived as being more human in a way. So, but I mean, there are quite a lot of challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think if we are starting on Gen AI, then we are gone for another hour.
A different subject.
Yeah. Now, Mikkel, just personalization. We talk about it. It's often discussed as in terms of data and algorithms. Since you touched on the Gen AI. But how can businesses use personalization to create genuine emotional connections with customers?
I think how they can do it, I'll come back to that. I mean, why they should do it is, of course, what we talked about also initially today, relevance. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to create strong emotional bonds with customers because that's of extreme financial benefit for the company. So the idea, the end goal should be to create loyal customers who has a behavior that would be recommendation, that would be repurchase, that would be a number of things, upsell or upbuy, that is of relevance. If I, in a structured way, should talk about the the company, what do they need? I would normally talk about 4 different areas that should be in place. I would talk about willing, skilled, able, and aligned. So the idea of you need to ensure that your employees are actually motivated. So you can have the best concept in the world, but if your employees are not basically living that brand, that's never gonna fly. So you need to make sure that people are actually willing to get up in the morning and go do exactly. So we talk about passion, we talk about basically aligning also expectations with the employees. So motivation is extremely important. So when you have the motivation, then you need to make sure that these employees also are able to do these things. And that would be have the right technology, have the right insight, no matter if it's a 30-seat restaurant or a $1 million+ company with digital marketing. You need to make sure that you have the right systems in place and the right insights. And I'm not just talking marketing. I am also talking about, the right data in your CRM system. So when somebody calls the customer service, they would know who you are, what kind of interest that you have, and what to talk to you about. So willing, skilled. Am I actually also, system-wise supported? Am I training-wise supported? In terms of, do I feel that I actually have what I need to be able to do my job? And then also the support of management. Because a lot of companies, a lot of top management are talking about being customer-centric. This is important and we need to treat our customers right and customer is king and whatever. But at the end of the day, that is not what is on the agenda. So nobody is allowed actually to spend the time or the resources to actually take good care of customers. So support from top management is the third very important thing. And then I think the last thing, and that talks into some of the things, Rasmus, that you have talked about also in marketing. I've always seen that if you look in an average company, marketing would be the first place where you are good at individualize your communication, so make that relevant. So you can actually, in marketing, create a very unique and interesting atmosphere with the customer, set some high expectations, because marketing basically should drive sales most often. When you then meet the sales organization, they would also do a lot just for you to basically buy from them. And then, unfortunately, you meet the delivery part of the organization. So now I've actually seen all the glitter in marketing. I've heard on all the well-argumented reasoning from the salespeople.
Moment of truth.
And then suddenly I'm actually experiencing the delivery of my product or service. And if that is very far from what I thought, because of marketing and sales basically over-promising, then you would have a huge problem. So one of the things we talk about as the fourth thing is alignment. You need to align across the organization. Everybody needs to talk in the same kind of language. We need to talk about the same thing. And we need to make sure that we're not like extremely good in marketing and extremely not good in, let's say, customer service or delivery or something like that. So willing, skilled, able, and aligned, those would be the 4 different things that I think could fit into most companies when it comes to taking good care of customers.
All right, makes absolute sense to me. But yeah, Tina, you are an expert in creating memorable experiences for guests. How do you foster that sense of connection and how do you make your guests feel special?
No, but if I'm going to take a few of the points from before, and then again, one of the most important parts is this about the staff that you have around you, because they are also the ones, because you cannot be everywhere yourself. So they are the one directly in connection to the guests. So of course, if you then put up some terms for them, so they are well rested when they come to work, and they feel that you are listening to them and that you are sharing with them, and then in the end, the experience will become even better. So what we did at the restaurant, like quite a long time ago, was to scale down from 6 to 5 work days, and then to 4 work days. And then back when we came to stars in 20, and like the business was running a bit more economy-wise, with a bit of better flow of money. We did change, so the opening hours was, instead of Wednesday to Saturday, it was Tuesday to Friday. So suddenly the waiters and the chefs and us as a family could be a bit more like normal people. We could say yes.
Saturday evening off.
We could say yes to go to a wedding. Now this weekend I'm going to a silver anniversary. I would never have done that, 10 years ago. I said no to funerals, to weddings, to confirmations, to everything. But to make this, everyone are talking about work-life balance, but actually to do it in reality and not just talk about it, because we are very fortunate that we can fill our restaurants on all days, but of course maybe concerning economy, it is better to be open on a Saturday than to be open on a Tuesday, because in Denmark it's a bit more common to spend a bit more money in a weekend than on a weekday. But we chose to do this for the guest experience, because if you have a happy employee, then in the end the guest will also be treated better.
Yeah, and it shows that making conscious decisions about your staff and what it applies to the
many
operations.
people are talking about it, but also to do it and to see that it works. Because we also felt, of course, in our industry, it's a bit like having a Saturday off. It's a bit weird, So suddenly, okay, what are we doing on Saturday? Because normally, we are working Saturday evening, and then Sunday we sleep because we're so exhausted, and then Monday we crawl out of the cave, and then we maybe go to the supermarket with the sunglasses on, and then we go back to work on the Tuesday. But actually, to feel that people, they just had to find the balance, but now, it pays off.
But you are actually breaking boundaries.
I don't know.
Well,
but I think it's good sometimes to show the way.
Yeah.
And it's not like we are better than anyone else, but
I'll tell you, Tina.
Again. Yeah.
Tina, you have my deepest respect because having a 3-star Michelin restaurant that actually financially is sound, and on top of that, you are able to scale down, not scale up time-wise, to give even better working environment for both your employees and yourself. That in combination, I think, is really, truly unique. So everybody else is fighting to try and make this a sound investment, and they
But
work.
I think many companies are trying today as well, not only in our industry. And you see in our industry, a lot of have followed. So now many restaurants are closed in the weekends, and then you can go to a bistro on a Saturday that has maybe 2 teams rolling or something like that. That's fine. But I think many industries are trying to now.
Maybe that's even a trick of scaling. You're scaling down, you're sacrificing short-term profit for the sake of long-term sustainability.
Employees, that
because
means
you don't burn out.
long-term guests,
So people can actually come and experience Jornia again in 5 years because you're still there, because you got to go to all these weddings.
Otherwise you just burn in each end, and then suddenly,
That's actually, people don't get me silenced very often, but this is one of those moments where actually I go I need a cup of coffee and think about this. That's actually very, very humbling. Tonight I will reflect on this conversation and I will go I should have said that and I should have said that. And so, you know that feeling when you leave a conversation and suddenly you think of all the brilliant things that you should have or could have said. Well, we are on a mission to find the perfect word for that feeling, and we've got some great contenders. So I asked around. I asked to our listeners, "Hey, do you have ideas for a good English word for that?" So Mikkel, Tina, Rasmus, I have 7 words for you that people have suggested, and you're only allowed to pick one. So that one goes to you as well, Mikkel. No 2 billboards, just one.
Tough decision.
Yeah. So Merete Medle, a fellow podcaster and an avid fan of finding new words, apparently, suggested a word that was highly supported by others. It's called Afterwise. Anna-Maja Taninen mentioned that it's in Finnish, they also have Afterwise as a word, and it's even a verb. I'm afterwising. So that's the first word that we could have. That same Anna-Maja also gave us ifing, as in if this and if that, which I also really liked. Another very popular word was suggested by Jean-Felix. Daniel Granja Baltazar came up with after dump, because your brain is still dumping ideas after the conversation. It's also very interesting. Fan of the show, Koen Peters, offered enlightenment that comes a bit late. I also like that one. Another good one I liked was from Dimitri Jambé, who gave us answer lag and aftersight. So 2 for 1. And Michele Perez suggested way homer, because it doesn't hit you until you're on the way home. Yeah. So, Tina, you have the honor of picking the first word, which
I think for me it was the ifing, because I still remember it, to be honest.
Ifing.
So for me,
not to confuse with effing. Yeah.
All right, I'm writing that down, Tina. Ifing, perfect, thank you. Excellent choice.
I don't know if it was an excellent choice, but
I like it. Mikkel?
I think I'm gonna go with afterwise. The idea of feeling that I'm much more, wise later on. All the things that I should have said. So afterwise.
All right, perfect. And then Rasmus.
Yeah, I've got to go with the same as Mikkel.
No, you can't. You have to make a third one.
I have to pick a third one.
Yeah.
you see, you don't remember any of them.
You can take afterwise. I can pick something else. It's okay.
Let me defend Afterwise then for a second, because I mean, it's really trying to sort of steer and hone in on the feeling that you have. I mean, the feeling of being wise. There's also the concept of hindsight.
Yeah.
So hindwise could also be one. So there's the feeling that suddenly I feel wise, but it's a bit too late. So I don't know, late wise could also be one.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, then so you're sticking with the one that Mikkel also chose.
Yeah, I would stick with it.
Okay.
Okay, then I will.
I mean, if
don't worry,
Mikkel is
I'll take the third one.
I can take a third one then. If I'm not allowed. Rasmus stole mine.
He's at his second billboard.
Yeah. Now I have a good reason for that. Right. So
Thank you, Mikkel.
aftersight then.
Aftersight.
So again, hindsight or aftersight.
Aftersight. Okay. There you go. That's perfect. That's
What do you
fantastic.
choose?
Well, how would you translate that into German? Aftersight.
I was.
Hintersicht.
Yeah, isn't that
Hintersicht.
Hintersicht.
That's easy.
I would have gone for way homer, because I really like that.
But that's like it sounds more like a person you are. I'm this way homer
I'm a way
kind of
homer.
guy. So always on the way home, I get this afterside. Oh.
That Homer thing is like Simpsons to me. So yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, that's my
that's
cultural
true.
reference. Sorry.
Yeah.
Or it's just a really boring person who's always on the way home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that could also be. Yeah.
You want to stay? No, I'm a way homer.
No, fantastic. We've got our top three. What we're going to pull up a poll on social media to let our listeners and viewers decide the ultimate winner. So your three choices will be put up, and the winning word will officially become part of the Table 7 lexicon. Link in the show notes, obviously. Now, this has been a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it, and I can't believe how quickly time went. Actually,
Time is flying when you're having fun, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you. Actually, all. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming all the way down here to the city center. And usually I ask one of the guests to choose a tune on which we go our merry way into Copenhagen, or we have our lunch here. So Tina, could I ask you for a soothing song that we can play as our outro song.
Yes, like the reason why I chose it, because to be honest, in our relationship, it's my husband who's, I can feel when he's playing music in the kitchen, I know what mood he's in. So if it's like Norwegian death metal, I'm just staying away from the kitchen. But what he also loves is like when we have like a Sunday off and sharing a glass of wine in the sun with the kids running around, he loves to sing for me. And it is very cute, and a song, I know it's not an old song, but in some ways it's a song that for me is very timeless. And it's with Leon Bridge, and it's Texason.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And I have it on Spotify if you want it.
Yeah. I will need it.
I love that song.
But it is good, right?
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. That's a fantastic choice.
Yeah. I don't know if it's fantastic, but I love it, and especially when he sings it.
There you go.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
You're
thank you so
very,
much
very
for
welcome.
taking your time. Time is precious. So.
Time is precious. And with those wise words, we're going to have lunch, right?
Yes.
So thank you for coming. Thank you for the listeners and the viewers as well, who have been listening and watching us. I don't know where my next trip will be. I know it, but I will keep it a surprise.
Sometimes it's okay to come back,
I will
Repeat customers.
I have to
you
come
have
back.
to come back.
I have to come back because
Tivoli and Jonna.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I will. Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Likewise.
You say you like the wind blowing through your hair. Well, come on, roll with me till the sun goes down. Texas sun. Say you wanna hit the highway while the engine roars. Well, come on, roll with me till the sun goes down. The Texas sun, oh yeah. Texas sun, caressing you from Fort Worth to